Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Kennedy?
The bad guys are using drones. Does anybody disagree with that? Okay. And the federal government has the authority to fight back, does it not? But state, nobody disagrees with that statement? Sure, Professor.
I would say within limits, yes. Within constitutional limits.
Okay. Do any of you disagree with giving state and local law enforcement the authority to fight back?
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the channel where we speak truth, defend the Constitution, and call out the nonsense when we see it. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because you're not going to want to miss what we're talking about today. So I just watched this clip from a mainstream media. It's titled, "You're Not Talking to Bambi's Baby Brother Here." And let me tell you, Senator John Kennedy, he nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Let's break this down, not just what was said, but what it means for our country, our safety, and the never-ending dance between common sense and ivory tower academia. Senator Kennedy is sitting in a hearing, questioning a professor, some legal scholar, probably from one of those East Coast elite universities. The topic? Giving state and local law enforcement the authority to fight back against drones being used by the bad guys. Now, let's stop right there. We have criminals, cartels, and yes, terrorists using drones to surveil, to smuggle, even to launch attacks. That's not a movie plot. Folks, that's real life. So the question is simple. Should our law enforcement officers be able to take those drones down?
Again, within constitutional limits.
Okay. Tell me what your constitutional concerns are, Professor.
So I have three primary concerns. The first has to do with the Fourth Amendment and the conditions under which a warrant is required and a general warrant is forbidden by the Fourth Amendment. So in this particular case, it's important.
Professor, before you give me one of your lectures, are you saying that we should require state and local law enforcement to get a warrant before they fight back?
It depends on the condition. So in an exigent circumstance or something along the
I'm
border.
aware of the exceptions to the warrant requirement. But you, generally speaking, you want to require them to get a warrant.
Only for the search of a device or the seizure of property. There are also due process implications of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You started to mention another one of your objections.
First Amendment.
First Amendment. Okay. Any others?
Yeah, I also have a state rights, a 10th Amendment concern here, which is that states own the airspace adjacent to the land within their state that's not federally owned, and the current federal provisions don't recognize state sovereignty in that way.
So you want to give state and local law enforcement the authority to fight back, but you want to list a whole lot of conditions. Is that a fair assessment?
Not a whole lot, but some. There needs to be a nexus to the facility. It can't be any drone anywhere in America if you're concerned about a particular facility, but right now it's too broad. There have to be acknowledgments of First Amendment concerns. So for instance, limiting the covered facilities to the experience and logic test with which the courts use for right of public access, or prohibiting media bans across the board, or setting a time limit before and after special events so they don't extend extensively. This is what a number of state measures already do, and I'd like to see that at a federal level and apply to bring this within the constitutional
Sounds
limits.
like a lot of conditions to me.
No, not very many. As long as there's probable cause and the conditions are met, then absolutely you can.
Have you ever heard of
search.
a legislative practice called loving a bill to death?
Yes.
Okay? And that's when you take a bill and somebody says, I'm really for this bill. But then they add so many amendments and they screw it up so badly that the bill either becomes ineffective or doesn't pass. Is that a pretty accurate description?
Of the term?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're trying to love this to death, aren't you?
I disagree.
You're not really for giving law enforcement the power to fight back, are you?
I am. in favor of giving law enforcement that power and respecting constitutional limits.
I don't believe you, Professor. Okay? You're not talking to Bambi's baby brother here. Okay? I've read some of your stuff. I think you'd be more intellectually honest if you just come out and say, I'm on the side of the bad guys here. I think we shouldn't give state and local law enforcement the authority to fight back. You're trying to make it as hard as possible, aren't you?
We'll have to disagree on that point, Senator.
Nah. You ever heard the expression, watch what they do, not what they say? I've watched what you've done. I know what you believe. Or you're on the FISA court?
I'm not on the court. No, I'm an amicus for the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court and the Court of Review.
Okay. Were you there when you guys issued all those bad warrants against Trump's people?
I can't discuss my work on the court, unfortunately.
Oh, it's top secret, right? You'd have to put me on the American people on double secret probation if you told them the truth, wouldn't you?
No. I can't discuss my matters that I've handled before the court. I can discuss the public ones where I've dealt with First Amendment concerns and the right to petition. I did an extensive history looking at that right
I'm
to
done,
petition.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Kennedy. We're going to turn it over to Senator Blumenthal.
Thanks, Madam Chair.
Yes, they're protecting us. This should be common sense. But what does a professor do? He starts lawyering up the conversation. Fourth Amendment, this First Amendment that states sovereignty, airspace rights, and on and on and on. And here's where Senator Kennedy really shines. He calls the professor out for what he's doing, loving the bill to death. See, that's what these folks do. They pretend they're on your side. Oh, I support law enforcement, they say, but then they stack on so many restrictions and conditions. The whole thing becomes useless. It's a tactic. It's a stall. It's legal sabotage. And Kennedy saw right through it. When the senator said, "You're not talking to Bambi's baby brother here," I nearly stood up and cheered. Because what he's saying is this: we're not naive. We know exactly what these academics are trying to pull. They don't want law enforcement empowered. They want them handcuffed. And not just in the courts, but out there in the field, in real time, while the enemy is flying drones over our heads. Now, look, I'm a Constitution-loving patriot. The Bill of Rights is sacred. But let's be real, the Constitution isn't a suicide pact. The founders never meant for us to tie our own hand behind our backs, while criminals exploit technology to harm American citizens. The professor talks about warrants and due process, as if we're talking about someone's laptop. These are drones being used as weapons. You want cops to go to judge and get a warrant while a drone drops fentanyl or spies on a police station. Give me a break. The professor is worried about state airspace rights. I'm worried about Americans dying. There's a difference. And just when you think Kennedy is done, he goes in for the kill. He brings up the FISA court. Now, if you've been paying attention the last few years, you know that court has had some serious issues, especially when it came to spying on President Trump's campaign. And surprise, the same professor served as amicus for the FISA court. And suddenly, he can't discuss any of that. It's top secret. Of course it is. These are the same people who say trust the system, while using that very system to target political opponents and tie the hands of our protectors. The hypocrisy is astounding. Look, I don't care if you're right, left, or in the middle. If you love this country, then you should want law enforcement to have the tools they need to protect it, not to be buried in paperwork, while our enemies fly over our heads, literally. We are at a point where academic freedom is being used as a shield for bad ideas, where the rule of law is weaponized by people who claim to be neutral, and where common sense is treated like extremism. Senator Kennedy didn't let that fly. He stood up, he asked tough questions, and when he smelled bull, he called it out. And that's what we need more of in Washington. Straight shooters with spines. So what do you think? Was Kennedy too harsh? Or was he just telling it like it is? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have a real conversation, not one filtered by woke talking points and legal tap dancing. And if you support strong borders, strong law enforcement, and strong American values, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. This is Conservative Chronicle signing off. Stay strong, stay free, and God bless America.